Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast for November 9th, 2024, episode 318. Stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser, and dreamer. Paul Green sharing my journey, thoughts, and insights while I pursue my dreams and hopes that you might pursue yours. So, tonight was quite an interesting night for the Green Man. I had a private gig, and oh my gosh, private gigs can be some of the best gigs you ever do, or they can be some of the worst gigs you ever do. They are just wrought with, or fraught, I think that's the word I mean, with so many more variables. And I should clarify for anybody not in the entertainment biz what I mean by a private gig. So obviously, as a stand-up comedian, there are specific venues that are designated for comedy, stand-up comedy clubs, theaters, performance venues where people obviously are coming out to see a show, to see you perform. A private gig is anytime a corporation or a private party hires you to come out and do stand-up at some sort of other type of event or venue. Corporate parties, birthday parties, anniversaries, weddings, reunions, all of that sort of stuff. And in my lifetime, I have done probably around the 300 to 400 mark of private comedy gigs. The majority of those gigs I did when I was an improv performer. And the improv troupe I was with had a pretty extensive corporate client list who would, hire them to come out and do like a private improv comedy show. And with that improv troupe, oh my gosh, I did so many random gigs. I did a gig for AutoZone where they flew us out to Tennessee. I did a gig for this gigantic software company that flew us out to Hawaii. I did a gig in Omaha for this company that was doing like a team building type retreat with their employees. I've done party gigs for like political events, political rallies, dentist offices, real estate offices, the Goodwill. I did a show for Goodwill. I mean, so many different types of gigs and, churches, gigs at hotel ballrooms, conference rooms, people's houses, backyards. It's just so many. And it's just a really interesting phenomenon. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just so interesting to do these gigs and to try to get into the head of the people who book you and just go, okay, so, this company or this church or this person, it's like, oh, I have this event. I want some comedic entertainment. I think that comedic entertainment would go well. I'm going to reach out and, book somebody. And then you show up to these gigs, and what makes them so unique and what makes it so it can be extremely challenging is it's quite possible that nobody at that event had any idea that there was going to be entertainment, or if they knew there was going to be entertainment, it's quite possible that they don't want it. or they couldn't care any less that there's a show going on. It's like, oh, well, I'm at this corporate event, and really all I want to do is like drink wine and hang out with my coworkers. I don't want to focus on a comedy show. I just had dinner, or whatever it is. And so they can go bad. So it's not uncommon to show up at a corporate event and really struggle to get the audience on board. I remember this one time I was doing one of these corporate gigs with this improv troupe, and we're at this gigantic hotel ballroom. I mean, it was one of the biggest ballrooms I'd ever seen. There must have been 700 people in there. I mean, and it is loud. I mean, 700 people in a room. I hope I get that number right. I hope I'm not artificially inflating the past in my mind. I mean, definitely several hundred. And they're just having dinner, and so it's loud, and there's plates and silverware and cups clinking and just chattering, and servers walking all over the place. And they have this stage set up, and the person, whoever who booked us, I don't remember if it was the president of the company or, some vice president or somebody in HR or whatever, gets up and just says, all right, everybody, we're going to have some improv comedy. Please welcome to the stage our improv troupe. And nobody in the entire room stopped what they were doing. They just kept on eating. And so we go on stage, and we're just trying to get anybody's attention. And an improv show requires audience interaction. So, we're trying to get the audience to give us suggestions for our scenes and whatnot. And it was just, it was just chaos. And we're trying, so we're trying to do our thing and just trying to do scenes where, again, almost nobody was even aware that a show was going on. And somewhere in the middle of one of our sketches, we're like 10 minutes in, and it's not going well. And we're doing the sketch, and then out of nowhere, like 7 or 8 employees from this company, and like upper up employees, like the vice presidents and stuff like that, guys who we were introduced to, just randomly hop up on stage right in the middle of our scene just to kind of be like obnoxious. And I didn't even really remember what they did, but they just walked on stage and just stood in the front of the stage and just interrupted our scene. And the director was so mad, and we were all like, pretty miffed. I mean, it was pretty rude. But they were drunk and having fun and just kind of thought like, oh, it's an improv show. Oh, this is our thing. Oh, we're just going to hop up on stage and just, kind of be like, hey, look, we're on stage. Meh. And, and the director of the troupe literally just called the show. I think that, I remember him saying that whoever booked us kind of just said, yeah, hey, you can just, quit here. It's like they had booked us for like an hour show, and then like 10 minutes in, hour show, and they flew us out to Omaha and got us hotel rooms and transportation. I mean, they must have spent a small fortune, just to have us out there. And then just 10 minutes in for them just to sort of interrupt the show and then just be like, yeah, you guys can go. Oh my gosh. So private gigs, man. And the other element, if that isn't bad enough, the other element is anytime you're doing a private gig, there is a much higher probability of a somewhat homogenous culture which can be bad if that culture is not fun, or if they, don't have a good sense of humor, or if they are, you know, like overall sort of like politically leaning a certain direction, or, some sort of demographic, they're all maybe like they're all a certain age, or, there's just stuff like that. And, especially when you're doing like a private party. It's like when you're doing a private party, it's like, oh, this is this family and all of their close friends. So you have like these very tight-knit groups, and it makes it so much more challenging, because one of the benefits of doing shows like at a comedy club is you typically have a much wider range of human demographic, and it just gives you a little bit of a better chance to have your material relate to somebody in the audience, and, preferably enough people that, you can get through a set and get some laughs. But sometimes you'll do these private gigs and it's just like, oh, whatever's going on with this particular group of people, this is just not a good fit either for comedy in general or for my type of comedy or whatever it is. I remember doing this corporate show again with that improv troupe, and it was for Night Transportation, which is, one of those semi-trucking shipping companies. Night Transportation. And they booked out a small theater for this improv show, and it was supposed to be sort of their company retreat or whatever. Oh, we're going to leave the office. We're going to go to this theater. We're going to get some live comedy entertainment, and that entertainment was us. So we show up, and I don't know what it was about this company, but it was the most stiff, standoffish, uninterested, aloof, like dead inside energy I have ever felt in a room. And it was so abundantly clear to me that, oh, this must be the culture of his company, because nobody in that audience had a smile on their face. Nobody in that audience had any interest in having fun. It was just abysmal in there. And the thing about improv is it's highly interactive. We're always coming to the audience. We're always, asking them for suggestions. We're trying to riff with them. And we tried to I remember we were trying to, we do this game called Dream Nightmare, where we interview somebody in the audience, find out about their day, and then just improvise a series of scenes. So we try to get a volunteer for anyone in the audience who would let us talk to them. And of course, nobody's volunteering. Finally, we got somebody who was like, okay, yeah, fine, I'll do it or whatever. And so the director starts trying to talk to them. And I have never seen somebody more devoid of joy in their life. And he was like a young dude, he looked like he was maybe in his 30s. If I remember right, I think he was sitting next to his wife. And we're just like, okay, hey, so tell us about a typical day. Like what do you do when you first get into work? I check emails. Okay, great. Then what else do you got going on? Well, I just send emails. Yeah. It was just the most does this guy have any job satisfaction whatsoever? And by the way that he was talking seemed like the energy of the entire room. If we had talked to anybody, we would have gotten the same answers, right? And anyway, I don't remember much about what the guy did at work, but I just remember that first response well, I'll just check emails. And just that was it, and then lifeless or whatever. So we go through his workday, which just sounds like the most boring workday you can possibly imagine. And then the next question the director asks is, okay, so like when you go home, like what do you into? What do you like to do? He's like, well, I just watch TV and then I go to bed. Then I just get up and do it all over again. It was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on with this company? And what's so interesting about that is a few years after that, I hope I'm getting my timeline correct here. This is all kind of ancient history. But a buddy of mine got a job at that shipping company. And he lasted there like 1 week. And I still remember because he was calling me. He called me one night, like super late, because I think he was on a night shift or something. Oh no, sorry, I'm mixing stories. So he gets a job there and lasts like 1 or 2 weeks because he just was like, yes, that was the worst job I have ever had in my life. He's like, that job is just, they are just slave driving over there. He's like, I just show up. They just hound you, micromanage you every minute of your day. I think he was in some sort of either like a collections position or he might have been in a like a sales position. I think what he had to do was call like clients and like book like book shipments or whatever. And he just talked about how like, they would just set like an arbitrary goal for him and be like, all right, we need you to hit, $10,000 in bookings today or whatever it was. All right, I'm making those numbers up. So then he would go and hit it. And then there was no like, oh, congratulations, no attaboy, no, hey, thanks, you're doing a great job. It was like, oh, cool, you hit 10,000. Okay, tomorrow we want you to hit 12,000. So the next day he'd come in and he'd tell 12,000, and then they would just be like, okay, great, tomorrow hit 15,000, right? And it was just like, they would never give any sort of credit or praise or anything. It was just always get more, get more, get more, get more, get more until people would quit. And that's what he did. He did not last long, right? So, there's that company. And then here I am trying to entertain them with comedy when this entire company culture is just completely devoid of any sort of comedic sensibility in their culture. It was just, that whole show was just so rough, just pulling teeth to get any sort of interaction or reaction from that group of people. So, private gigs, they can be really fun, but they can go very bad. So tonight, I had a private show. And the private show was for this woman who found me online somehow. And she was getting married. And she, she's older. I think she's like maybe in her 50s or 60s. Has been with this guy for a long time, but they just never got married. But they've been together for like 25 years, I think, something crazy. And they just finally decided to get married. And she just says, so yeah, we'd love to have you come out and do some comedy at our wedding. So I booked this gig and, I booked it a couple months ago. And to be perfectly honest, I hadn't thought about it all too much until tonight when I'm driving out to this place and they're having the wedding at a house. And it's like way far away. Like West Phoenix and then South Phoenix for like a long time. And I show up to this house and it's a very nice house. And I find out that this comedy show is just going to take place in their living room with all of their close family and friends, of which there were about 30. And come to find out that they literally had their wedding at the house like earlier that tonight. I'm like, I don't know why that didn't really occur to me when I had booked it initially, I mean, my mind is just always getting pulled a bunch of different directions. And so I didn't really like think through of like, wait, they want me at a wedding when like, I've never been in a like long term marriage relationship. A lot of my stand-up material is about being single, and I even have jokes about my like fear of getting divorced and all this stuff. I'm like, why did they want me to to come out here, other than the fact that she kept mentioning that they have a baby grand piano and they want me to do some music comedy. So I show up, and it's this nice house out in the middle of nowhere in a nice gated community. And, and I meet the bride, I meet the groom. They're really nice. They're really excited to have me there. And again, there's about 30 people, and it's just their close friends and family. It's like an intimate wedding. And she just starts getting all the people to come inside, because they were also like having dinner out on their back patio. Just, have them come inside, and just sat up some chairs in the living room. Some people were sitting on a couch, and there I was. All right, everybody, we have a comedian. Let's go. And I'm just standing there like, I wasn't like, there's not like a backstage. There's not a green room. So I'm just standing there, and then I brought a portable microphone, and then off I went. And not going to lie, I was so anxious and just apprehensive because I just had no idea. Because again, these private gigs can go horribly bad. It's like, this is their family and close friends. They all know each other. There's going to be some similarities here. There's going to be some shared experience. And I'm this weird random stranger who's like not even married. And, and I'm going to go like do comedy to a couple that's been together 26 years at their wedding. It just was like, what the heck is going on? So I just start kind of riffing and making jokes about the fact that, I'm so excited that like, hey, this is a huge step in my career. I've always wanted to perform in a living room, like that sort of like, oh, I've really made it now. I'm in a living room, I've made it, like, those sort of jokes, riffing on that. I made a couple like kind of riff jokes about how far away this was from everything, and and they seemed to laugh at that. And then I started trying to decide, like, okay, I don't think I want to do my material, because again, my material is really geared towards single people, people who have been on dating apps and stuff. And like everybody in this room were older, and they all look, and they were all like together with somebody. I even asked, I'm like, is there anybody here who is single? And nobody clapped. So I'm like, okay, this is not my demographic. So I started talking to the couple and just trying to figure out their love story. And the groom he actually starts to get a little miffed that I'm like talking to him and doing crowd work. And, and I'm asking him about like, oh, how you met, and, that whole situation. Then he goes just like, I was just hoping for some jokes. Oh my gosh. I was mortified. I'm like, oh no, the groom who hired me, who's paying me to be here at his wedding, is not happy with the direction I'm going, which was to be interactive and to talk to them. But I thought the reason they hired me was because of my crowd work ability. And anybody who watches my comedy know that one of my favorite things to do is to talk to couples in the audience, or to talk to crowd members, and then improvise a song about their life on the spot. And so that's what I was starting to gear up for, was to talk to them and find out their love story and then improvise the song. So I only had a couple of questions in, and then, this guy's just like, well, I was just thinking you were going to tell some jokes or something like that. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm already blowing it. So I stop talking to them, and then I just start doing my material, and I'm like, well, they're going to get material about what it's like to be a single guy at their wedding. And I just start telling my single joke material that I've been doing. And, and I even did my jokes on marriage and divorce. The good news is the audience was very gracious. They were having a good time. They were focused. People were laughing. I was able to get like eye contact from most people. And they laughed at my material. So I went and did material for about another 15, 20 minutes. And then I actually pulled out some old jokes that I haven't told in several years, just because, I was like, I'm a little, I need to fill some more time. I don't really know any other material that is going to work for this crowd. And so I pulled out old bits, old bits. And I did that. And then, I finally just got to the point where I'm like, all right, I don't think I can keep going here. I hoped they wanted me to do 45 minutes. I hope that I got close to that. I think I did. And then I sat down, and then they had a piano there. So I sat down and I played the piano, and I improvised a song about the couple, because I had learned a little bit, but the song wasn't that good because I didn't really get a lot of information from them. Because, the groom kind of told me, like, hey, I kind of don't want to be interviewed here. I just want to hear some jokes. I don't want to be talked to. You know what I mean? And so, overall, it went very, very well. The audience afterwards, a handful of them came up and were so gracious and were like, that was really great. And the bride and the groom were very, very happy. And, the groom did say like, oh, that was really great. You did a great job. So I was like, oh, thank God. I was worried that maybe he had some second thoughts about hiring me when I was kind of going for more of a crowd work approach. And he was hoping for more of a traditional stand-up comedy material approach. So, all in all, I did the gig, I survived the gig, and, it's just fascinating that, these are the experiences that I'm having, just pursuing this dream, pursuing comedy, and that random people are finding me on the internet and inviting me to come be a part of, like, their significant life event. And it just triggers all of my neuroses and insecurities as I try to gear up the courage to go step into some stranger's living room and try to make jokes in front of all their family and friends on their wedding day. So, I think that is the spice of life, though, is just random experiences. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is I could be working for night transportation and wake up every single day, and my whole day is, checking emails. So overall, very, very grateful, happy the show is over. I was very anxious, very nervous, but I think overall it went very well. They were happy. And, just, again, grateful to have that they thought of me, and that, they told me afterwards that they had seen a lot of my YouTube clips and that they thought I was really funny, and, and they wanted me to be a part of this special day. So how cool is that? So a very wild night for yours truly, but, that's all what pursuing the dream is about. All right, everybody, I've yammered on long enough for tonight, so I'm going to leave it at that. Go out there and pursue those dreams, everybody, and hopefully you have some fun, exciting, and unique experiences that just make life a little interesting while you are on your path as well. All right, everybody, that's all for tonight. This is the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast for November 9th, 2024, episode 318. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.